All right, moving on to our next topic, and this one to me, as I was going through the news, so CES is happening, or it has happened in the past week, and there were some things that were announced. You know, the usuals like TVs, cameras and whatnot, and new technology for the future, and what may become an actual thing or not. One of which, as you see on screen, is the Game Boy. So this is off of Gizmodo.com, written by Andrew Lisinski. Game Boy is coming back thanks to Hyperkin. With the NES and NES Classic Edition retro consoles still selling out as fast as they are on sale, it is safe to assumption that Nintendo is going to revive some of its other popular consoles soon. But before the Game Boy Classic Edition had a chance to become more than a rumor, peripherals manufacturer Hyperkin is releasing its own remake of the classic portable handheld, temporarily called the Ultra Game Boy. While it is still in development, the name is actually a perfect description of Hyperkin's hardware, which improves on Nintendo's original Game Boy in countless ways without affecting the classic Game Boy or gameplay many of us remember. Now, read one last part here. The Ultra Game Boy is housing made from aluminum, which has a wonderful heft. When you pick it up, your original Game Boy is probably covered in nicks and scratches, but will take a lot of abuse for Hyperkin's remake that's to start showing wear and tear. The Ultra Game Boy carries over the original volume and contrast dials, but the final version will include a third dial allowing you to adjust the portable console's new backlit LCD display through the entire RGB spectrum. The backlight can also be turned off if you want to truly authentic squinty Game Boy experience. And I'll post the link in the chat for those who want to check out the. It is not a licensed Game Boy. You're right, Fiddler. It is not a licensed Game Boy.
And that right there right away makes me question it, because let's be honest, if you still have the original Game Boy games, you don't want to risk that shit, because you can't just go out and buy a new one again. They're hard to find. Yeah. When you do find them, they're expensive. Are you willing to risk your Game Boy games on... I mean, sure, it's probably going to be fine, but what if something goes wrong? Nintendo immediately turn around and be like, well, sucks for you, bitch.
I think the one thing for me when it comes to this is, first off, what? Second off, I'm kind of wondering, is Nintendo going to come down on them with a C&D? Yeah.
Can you even call it a Game Boy? Honestly, isn't that copyrighted?
I don't think you can.
Isn't there a trademark on that?
I'm pretty sure there is. More, if anything, Nintendo is going to C&D this for, I think, rather quickly, as we've seen in the past year, actually, of other games they have C&D'd because it was... basically the same thing.
Somebody created an entirely new Pokemon game, completely new.
Yep.
And they cease and desist that.
They also
this is not even a new product. This is literally, we're taking old shit, putting it in a new shell.
Yeah. Yeah, and this isn't the case like it is right now with Sega, because the Sega is bringing back their old consoles, but they're modernizing the internal mechanics or internal components to make sure it works in the mainstream with LCD TVs and whatnot. Sega can do that because they own the rising company, but the Hyperkin, I'm not sure if they can do this. It's a cool thing to see, though. Don't get me wrong. I think it's really cool to see really cool to see the Game Boy, back, but also with modernized components, but also at the same time still has that very old feel to it, as well as other improvements to it as well. So yeah, I think Nintendo is going to see this.
Nintendo still holds a U.S. trademark for it.
Oh, okay, then yeah, they're
going to
come down.
Yeah.
They're going to come down on this.
Even if Nintendo didn't want to, so here's how the trademarks work. If nobody knows how they work, even if Nintendo doesn't want to come down on this, if they don't come down on it, it leaves the next person who decides to do something with the Game Boy name able to do so. And if they come down on that person, they can countersue and say, yeah, but they didn't stop that person and there was no agreement there. Mm-hmm. So how trademarks work in the US, it kind of sucks, because when you see all these big companies coming down super hard on people, it's not always because they want to. A lot of the time it's because if they don't do it, their trademark is weak and now they can't actually defend it when they need to.
Yeah. and in some cases they have to defend it every time, or else they'll lose it.
Yeah. No, in most cases, it's not even a matter of having to defend it every time. It's just a matter of if you do not defend it, you will not be able to defend it moving forward, simply because, once again, if you don't defend it, the next first time somebody does it, they can easily point to say that one time you didn't defend it. Obviously, you didn't care about this trademark, and it just kind of becomes a shit show. And that's why trademarks suck.
Yeah.
That's the short version.
The short version, yeah. Trademarks suck, but it's there and it's been in our system for a very long time. But nonetheless, I think if anything, the pie in the sky, positive outlook on this is that, Nintendo will take this idea and like, hey, let's do a Game Boy Classic now, for their next upcoming series or whatnot, and then have several games with it.
I honestly think a better option would just be, let's release a new Game Boy, like a 2D, or the Game Boy, whatever the fuck they're calling them now, 2D, but just load it up with a fuck ton of like extra ROMs on there, because those games don't take a whole lot of space.
Exactly. They could do that. They could do the exact same thing they did with the past other classics.
You could go even further than that. You could be like, look, we'll go ahead, we'll sell you cartridges, and each cartridge, because of improvements, can hold X amount of games, and then we'll just sell you a way to download them to that ROM and then play it off of that cartridge. I mean, there's a lot of different ways they could go with it if they decided to actually reproduce the original Game Boy and all those games.
Right. I'm kind of curious as to what direction they would go with. I'm kind of, obviously, again, this could be C&D, if not now, in the near future.
Oh, definitely.
But I think that Nintendo, yeah, I can definitely see them doing a Game Boy Classics. I'm kind of curious on what direction they want to go with that, because I feel like they might not do that only because like they have the virtual console store whenever that goes up, and they can sell games right off there on the Switch to promote. Yeah, buy a Switch, get the games off of there. So, we'll see.
Yeah,
we'll see.
No, and I mean, this would actually be really interesting to see for speedrunners too. To throw it back to AGDQ, because a lot of guys want to run these old games in their original format, because that's where all the bugs are and things like that. A lot of the times when you get re-releases, they fix things. So if they re-release the original as it was relaunched games, that'd actually be really interesting.
It would be. But I digress. So moving on to our next topic at hand, BlazBlue. Hang on.